Okay.
And good morning, everybody. My name is Dee Sheridan, and I'm the International Manager in the School of Medicine here at the University of Galway. I'm joined by my colleague, Anna O'Grady, who works as the International Coordinator in the School of Medicine here in the University of Galway also. You're all very welcome here this morning, and we look forward to telling you a little bit more about our university and our School of Medicine and what you might be studying if you were to receive an offer to come and study with us here in Galway. So we'll take you through a brief agenda. We'll talk about the University of Galway. We'll talk a little bit about student life in our university. We'll introduce you to the School of Medicine and provide a short overview of our curriculum. We'll talk a little bit about opportunities for you to study and work abroad in the form of mobility opportunities, student support, the cost of living here in Galway, and then we will have a question and answer session. But if you want to pop any questions in the chat box as we progress, please do, and we can respond to them when we have a little bit of time. We're also going to hear a little bit more from some of our students who are studying medicine here in Ireland. So you'll have an insight into the student experience in addition to what it's like to work as a staff member here in Galway. So very quickly, a little bit of information about our university. So we are in the top 2% of universities worldwide, and that's in relation to the QS World Rankings. We are one of the top universities in the world for commitment to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and we're the #1 university in Ireland for sustainable development, which is very important in the higher education sector, and it's becoming a bigger impact or choice of university for students when they see the sustainable commitment from a university. So very, very important consideration. We are also one of the top universities in Ireland for employability of our graduates. So 98% of our graduates are in further employment or in further education when they graduate from our university. And we are very well known worldwide. We have approximately 110,000 graduates from our university working in some of the world's biggest companies, largest research institutions, and some of the world's best known clinical and research universities across the world. So we have a very strong international reputation, and that's why a lot of our international students hear about us and they like to come and study with us in Galway. We have, at the moment, we have about 19,000 students, and 18% of these students are international students representing 122 different countries, of which South Korea, we're proud to say, is one of our countries, and we have a very strong connection and relationship with our students who come from Korea through Suno's organisation. So our university, we're a city-based university, and you'll see us right in the middle of the picture here, which has got a kind of a purple circle. You'll see our famous quadrangle building, which is at the centre of our campus, but our university is also at the centre of our city centre. So we're about a 5 or 6 minute walk from the main city centre, which is a great location for students who live in the city centre. It's a quick walk when you need to get to lectures and clinical rotations early morning or late in the evening. Hopefully, you'll have done a little bit of research about our university and where we're based. So we're based in Galway, which is a city on the west coast of Ireland and along a very scenic route, which is called the Wild Atlantic Way. We are a city of festivals, culture and the arts, and there's always something happening in our city. We're a very young city, a huge focus on culture and celebrating this here in Galway and in Ireland. And we're very proud of our culture and our celebration of the arts. We were European Capital of Culture in 2020, which is a huge accolade for our small city, and it attracted a huge international interest from across the world. But unfortunately, COVID had other plans for our big celebrations. But nonetheless, we're very proud of that achievement. We're one of the 4th largest cities in Ireland, and our population is now approximately 80,000. So a small city in comparison to some cities that you were probably from. I've had the pleasure to visit Seoul myself, so I know how big Seoul is as a city and how vast and how big the population is. But Galway is a much smaller city, which makes it a very small, friendly, safe place for our international students to come and study with us. You'll see on the map, in terms of geography, Galway is located over here on the west coast. So we're basically on the opposite side of our city to Dublin, which is our capital and is on the east coast of the city, and about a 2.5 hour car or bus journey, with great connections and commuting options from Dublin Airport. So our campus, we are mainly one campus, one large campus based in the city of Galway, but we are expanding rapidly. And you can see here some of the pictures from our wonderful campus, the quadrangle, which is the oldest part of our university and one of our original buildings when our university was set up in 1845. On the far right-hand side, you'll see our human biology building. And this is one of the main buildings for the School of Medicine. And this is where our students complete their pre-clinical and pre-medical training. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. So in terms of student life, I understand our students will talk a little bit more about this, but just to give you some insight on what it's like to study here in Galway. We're a really true student city. Between our university and a sister university on the opposite side of the city, we have about 25,000 students, which means it's a very lively city and always something happening. Even in the middle of the week, it's usually really, really busy. We're a welcoming, safe and friendly environment for international students. Importantly, we have a very attractive cost of living for international students who spend the academic year with us here. We have a really strong student support services, and we have support all year round, covering areas including accommodation, counselling, disability support, chaplaincy service, and our student health centre, which is free of cost to all our registered students. We are a very vibrant campus, and we have a huge focus on the student experience, which leads me into our clubs and societies. A lot of our students are very keen to learn what kind of extracurricular activities they can get involved with during their time here in Galway. And we have a really strong clubs and societies with over 150 different opportunities for students to engage in sports, music, learn new languages, some cultural societies, language societies. So there's lots of opportunities for students to get involved in extracurricular activities outside of the medical programme. In terms of accommodation, which we'll talk a little bit more about in detail later on in the presentation, but at the moment we have 7 dedicated purpose-built student residences, all in very close proximity to the university. And in the first year, a lot of our new students will spend the first year in a campus residence. However, some students also like to stay off campus in private rented accommodation. So moving on to the School of Medicine, which is why you're all here today, to learn a little bit more about our school and our programme. So our school was one of the first faculties set up in our university in 1845. So we're around a very, very long time. The School of Medicine is one of 3 schools in the College of Medicine, Nursing and Health Sciences, and we're the most diverse international school in the University of Galway. So earlier I mentioned 122 countries are represented in our university. In the School of Medicine alone, we have 38 different countries represented on our programme. We have about 1,200 undergraduate medical students, and 40% of these students are international students. So about 460 of our cohort are from international locations. And we also have a postgraduate portfolio of programmes which you could consider when you finish your medical degree. And we have about 450 postgraduate students undertaking postgraduate taught programmes in our school. So our programme is equivalent to the MD programme, which is probably something you're very familiar with and is very common internationally in terms of a qualification. So we have 2 main options here in Galway. We offer a 5-year programme and we offer a 6-year programme. And these are the only entry routes to our school. So the 5-year programme is usually for students who have the correct mix of the sciences, including chemistry, biology, physics, and/or mathematics. who may have taken international level qualifications in the international baccalaureate exams, or A-levels, which is a common international qualification for students in the UK and internationally. And for students who may have completed their high schooling, but have completed an international foundation year, again, with the correct science subjects. So the 5-year programme is an attractive option for students with international qualifications or who have completed a foundation year, an international foundation year. Our 6-year programme is more suitable for students who are coming directly from high school, who have not completed the IB or A-level exams or a foundation year, but would like to be considered for medicine. So we have a foundation year, and this equates into a 1-year programme prior to transferring into our 5-year programme. And we also offer an 8-year programme, but you have to be a registered student on either the 5 or the 6-year programme to gain entry to this. And basically the 8-year programme offers are a medical degree with an intercalated PhD, which in duration is 8 years, or a combined medical and engineering degree, which is again an 8-year programme. But the key piece of information here is you have to be a registered student on the 5 or 6-year programme, and at halfway through your medical degree, you would apply for entry to the 8-year programme and resume your medical studies at the end of the PhD or the engineering qualification. So lots of options for students to consider. So we get a lot of students who have a very strong interest in medicine, but also on the engineering side of it. And also if anyone is considering a career in academia or a career in research, the intercalated PhD is a very attractive option. So our programme is modern systems-based integrated curriculum, and we have early patient contact from year 1 on our programme. It's based on the scientific foundations of medicine and clinical practice, and it's very student-focused. And our degree is recognised internationally. So a degree from Galway in medicine will allow you to practice medicine in most countries across the world, subject to some sitting of some licensing exams in local countries. But we can talk a little bit more about that later on. So our structure, we have 3 phases of our programme. And in our first phase, we are in foundation year and year 1. And this is where we look at the normal structure, function and behaviour of the body. In phase 2, which is usually years 2 and 3, we look at the abnormal structure, function and behaviour. This is where things might, when the body isn't working as it should be. And then in years 3, 4 and 5, we have full clinical immersion. And this is where you will spend the majority of your time in our teaching hospitals and with some didactic teaching, which is kind of small group teaching, large lecture theatres, or clinical skills in our clinical skills laboratory. So a combination of teaching, but the focus on clinical immersion in years 3, 4 and 5. We're semesterized here in the University of Galway, so each academic year is broken down into 2 semesters. The semester 1 is from September to December, and semester 2 is usually runs from January to May. There are exams at the end of each semester in the early years of the medical programme, and in the later years, it's more focused on the clinical examinations and continuous assessment. So a very quick overview of our programme, as I'm sure many of you have done some research online, so you'll understand the content of what a medical degree looks like. You will see in year 0, which is what we call our foundation year, you will focus on biology, physics, chemistry, and there will be an introduction to medicine. And this is where you will have your first patient contact in the programme. Year 1 moves into the basics of the body's structure, the musculoskeletal system, medical professionalism, and we're very focused on the systems and how they work and their formation. Year 2, we move more into the central nervous system, looking at organ failure, health and disease, medical professionalism at an advanced level, and there's also a focus on looking at pharmacology, drugs and disease. Year 3 is semester 1, before you move into clinical immersion, focuses on health and disease and professionalism combined with core clinical skills, and a very exciting module on global health and development. Moving into the clinical phase of the programme, so this looks and feels a little bit different. So we move into the clinical environment, and students will spend a number of weeks each year working in our teaching hospitals. Year 3, semester 2, is an 18-week semester, and this is your first introduction to the clinical aspect of the program. And you will complete clinical rotations in general medicine and in surgery. In year 4, this is your first full clinical year, and this is where you are introduced to the specialties of psychiatry, general practice / family medicine, pediatric medicine, and obstetrics and gynecology, before progressing into year 5, which is your final medical year. And this is where you complete advanced training in general medicine and surgery. And you also start on your junior internships, which is where we start to prepare you for life as a junior doctor when you leave our program. So just some kind of little facts about other aspects of our program, which students always like to know more about. Research is a huge component of our program, and students complete research right throughout the program. It's not isolated to 1 year or one experience. However, we do offer an 8-week fully funded summer research program, which all our students can apply to. And this is where you work on a live research project with a member of our faculty or with a member of clinical staff in our teaching hospitals. And it's always a very, very popular, well-respected program, and our students do really, really well out of it. And some get publications and present at international conferences. So it's a really good opportunity to learn about a specific subject, but also to develop your research skills. In March 2021, we opened our state-of-the-art high-fidelity simulation centre, which is based in our School of Medicine in our Clinical Science Institute. It's one of the most modern clinical facilities of its kind in Ireland. It has recently won an International Excellence in Medical Education Award, and it allows our students to practice their teaching and clinical skills in a safe, simulated environment before they move into the clinical world and are dealing with our real patients. So a really, really good opportunity to learn in a safe environment by very experienced tutors and simulation centre staff. We also offer students an opportunity to do special interest modules, and these are modules that sit outside of our core curriculum, but are usually have a medicine focus. In previous years, we have offered language opportunities to learn a new language. We've offered a module on Chinese medicine. We offer basic surgical skills. We combine a module with our colleagues in the College of Arts and Social Sciences, and we look at medicine in the arts. So lots of opportunities to study outside of your medical program in areas that might be of interest. These are offered in the second medical year, and it usually depends on what staff are available to teach these modules and what's available the students are interested in. So lots of opportunities to get involved outside of our core curriculum as well, which is really important. So another common area we get asked a lot of questions about is mobility. So students like to learn, when or where can I study abroad? Is it allowable in a medical degree? And what are the opportunities for you to do that? So the good news is in Galway, there are lots of opportunities for mobility, both locally and internationally. And I'll talk you through the options we have available. So we operate a regional academy structure here in Galway. So basically this means all our students spend 1 calendar year in one of our regional medical academies. And these are all located along the Wild Atlantic Way. And you'll see here from the map, all located on the west side of the country. And students spend 1 calendar year based in one of these academies. So it allows the student to get both urban and rural clinical exposure. The teaching facilities in these academies are equivalent to what's here in Galway. So they're like mini medical schools. So they're a fully functioning campus. Some of the unique points about our academy structure is there is a really low a really small number of students based in the academies. So the patient-student ratio is actually quite high in terms of students get more interaction with patients and they get more interaction with the multidisciplinary team and their supervisors. There's one-to-one and small group teaching, which is really, really invaluable. So you get to learn from your peers in a very small environment. And the proximity of the teaching and clinical facilities are excellent in that they're usually co-located, which means when you're in a lecture, you will only have to walk a few minutes to get to your clinical training as well. So very important for a busy medical student who has a very busy schedule. So in terms of other opportunities for international mobility, we offer all our students the opportunity to do some away electives. And that means you can go to an international destination for a 3 or 4 week period and undertake a clinical elective in a specialty of your choice, usually which is aligned to the medical school curriculum here in Galway. So that's a 3 or 4 week opportunity, and we offer that in year 4 and year 5 of the programme. We also have a very well developed summer elective programme where students can spend 4, 8 or 12 weeks undertaking clinical electives across the world, either in a School of Medicine partner institution or through an elective that you have sourced yourself. And we have lots of support and resources around this. We also offer students an opportunity to do a 3-month placement of an Erasmus programme in one of our 6 partner medical schools, currently based in Germany, France, Sweden and Switzerland. So a very exciting opportunity to spend 3 months in one of these destinations, completing clinical training under the supervision of a consultant before returning to complete your medical degree programme here in Galway. So just in terms of student support, I do have a little video that I'd like to show to you, if that's okay. It's about 2.5 minutes long, and it's just of a recent event we held on campus for our medical students, just showcasing our celebration we held to showcase the culture and diversity of our medical programme. And hopefully you might be able to spot the Korean flag in here as well. So I'll leave this with you for a minute, and hopefully we won't have any technology problems. There we go, we do. 1 second now. I might just stop sharing for a moment and get this going. Now. Okay, so following a few hiccups, that worked for us. So apologies about that. It's that video is from our event in February, and every time I see it, I just think, oh my goodness, our students are absolutely amazing. And that was just a snapshot. It was a huge event for about 350 students, and all our students, all the performances were undertaken by our students. So a really fantastic fun night. So yeah. So just moving into what it's like to study medicine here as an international student. So this international student journey is a little bit different to an Irish student's journey, in that some of our students like to consider their options abroad. And I know in previous years, our Korean students always like to consider options like the UK, maybe studying medicine in the United States. Some students have considered Australia in the past. So just to give you an idea of how that might look, and we'll share some information around that. So you'll see in the first few years, everything is typically the same for year 1 and year 3, all the way up to year 3, where students engage in their preclinical years. They may undertake some observerships or volunteering, or they may engage in our summer research program, which I mentioned a moment ago. In year 3, our students move from the preclinical training into the clinical years of their training. And we call this, or we celebrate this milestone with a transitioning ceremony where we get all of our year 3 students together and celebrate their end of their preclinical training and their move into the clinical years. And this is where it starts to get a little bit different for an international student. So I've highlighted the USMLE Step 1 here. So this is an exam that international students need to take if they want to consider training, completing their training in the United States of America, which we have some Korean students do in the past. This is the licensing exam and requires about 3 to 6 months of preparation, study-wise, usually over the summer of year 3. So it's an important piece of information for anybody considering completing their studies in the United States. In year 4, there's a second step to this exam as well that will have to be taken prior to a student being able to apply for international residency in the USA. This is only applicable to the US. It's not relevant to Canada or the United Kingdom, and they all have their own separate requirements. But I know based on previous years, a lot of SUNO students like to know this information about the US in particular. In year 4, our international students also start to take their away electives, which I mentioned in a previous slide, before progressing into year 5, where you have the opportunity again to do some international away electives, but this is the year you actually start to consider if you want to apply for residency or here in Ireland, or if you want to apply for international residency. Or some students also like to take further study or pursue employment in a medical related area. So the options for residency are the HSE, which is the National Health Service Executive here in Ireland. And I'm pleased to say that in the last number of years, we have had huge success with our international students getting internships here in Ireland. And this is because we have increased the numbers of internships available, which means nearly every student who wanted to stay in Ireland and wanted to do their internship here were able to do so. So that's a really important piece of information. We also have students who as I mentioned, like to go to the United Kingdom, and we support our students with those applications. We actually have a student who was offered a place on the UK Foundation programme last year, but he turned it down to actually undertake a residency programme, a surgery residency program in the United States. So all of these options are available to students from across the world. And Anne and I are both responsible for helping our students with their applications and providing all the support they need to make those decisions. So yeah, a little bit of a different journey for an international student than an Irish or a European student. So a little bit of information on student support. I mentioned Anne and myself, and we're the dedicated staff in the School of Medicine. We also have a team of faculty who provide support to students, and we're all equipped with expert knowledge on the topics around residency, electives, making choices around where you might like to further your study, postgraduate study options. So Anne and I are very, very well versed in providing and supporting our students on these topics. We have a very strong supportive network of current students and staff from all across the world. So when you study medicine in Galway, you're studying with students from 38 different countries, and our staff are very international as well. So a very global lens and a huge focus on internationalizing the curriculum, which is really, really exciting. We also offer our students a Pathways to Residency program. So this links back to the previous slide where we talk about choosing your residency in Ireland or an international destination. We work with students from year 3, and we help prepare you for those options you need to consider. We help you with clinical electives. So we help you with your applications, identifying elective opportunities. We provide medical malpractice insurance, so lots of support around the clinical electives and residency. But we also provide some professional and employability support. So we help you with managing your career, we help you with your residency applications, we prepare you for interview, and we also help you with your application, in addition to supporting you with connecting with international alumni through our Graduate Connections programme. So a very well developed student support service in medicine. A little bit about the cost of living. If you have done some research on Galway, or indeed any Irish medical school, you will see a lot about some of the difficulties around sourcing accommodation. However, here in Galway, we have a task force tasked with managing the accommodation for all our international students. And the good news is we have secured international accommodation for our international students for the new academic year. It is allocated on a first come, first served basis, so there are limited availability, but it's ring fenced for our medical students. So that's really, really positive. And to give you an idea, the on-campus residences usually charge from about €640 up to €850, €860 per month for on-campus accommodation. And this varies in the private market. So this could vary from €500 a month up to €800 a month, but you also need to factor in the cost of living and your bills. So things like internet, refuse, access to TV and stuff like that. So there are some extra little costs on top of your accommodation rental as well, which are outlined on the slide below. And you'll see some more information here about, these are our two newest residences based on campus. So very exciting developments there. We have Dunlin Village, and which is our newest one, which is the top picture. And our international office and our accommodation office are managing the allocation of accommodation for the new academic year. So once you progress with an application, and hopefully you progress to interview and you're made an offer, we'll start to send you information about how you can apply for accommodation on campus and further details around different options as well. So some students like to work to subsidise their studies, and the good news for here in Ireland is that students are allowed to do this. However, during the academic year, this is up to 20 hours a week. And then during the vacation period, this can be extended beyond the 20 hours. So maybe up to 40 hours a week. And there's lots of student employment here in Galway, in particular in the hospitality, retail and catering sectors. So if students did want to or needed to subsidise their tuition or their accommodation or their cost of living, it's an opportunity for you to do so. Up to 20 hours a week during the academic year and up to 40 during vacation time.